Alright, so much for grand entrances and introductions. Hey guys, it's Christian, your friendly, loving, beloved, all concerned, all sensitive, all loving you guys commissioner of the Sim Baseball League. I thought I'd do a podcast. I'm driving from Pittsburgh, North Carolina, where my best friend relocated from the land, and driving down to Charleston, South Carolina, where my ex-girlfriend, fiance from 17 years ago is back in the picture. Love of my life, and that's a long story for another podcast, but it would be a book, an audio book, if I gave you that, if I told you the whole story. Anyways, thought I'd just give you a check-in. We haven't done a podcast in a while. I got a 4-hour drive, so let's try it. Kind of give a state of the league address, our podcast. And right now we're in the LCS 2048. We are in our 44th season. And we are in our 30th season since we started the new file era with the 2019 season. So that's 30 seasons. Wow. And we will be coming up on our 13th year anniversary on September 2nd. 13 real life years. Where has the time gone? Wow, guys, that's quite a long time, quite an accomplishment. We've been through a lot of shit. And here we are, still having a little fun, just trying to have a little fun. 24 guys trying to have a little fun a couple times a week, get away from the wife, kids, girlfriend, the bullshit, whatever, for a couple minutes a day and have some fun. I want to thank you guys all, each and every one of you, for making the league what it is for us all, having some fun, recreation. We're all equal. We're all the guys are all the guys that power the ship. I just turn the wheel, me and Brandon and powers that be, and really there's no powers that be. Everybody's equal here. There's no clique, there's no ego, there's no power trip. That's what this league was founded against, and it's what we are 13 years later. Alright, man, 13 years, long time. Anyways, we are at the UCLS tonight. We will find out who's advancing to the coveted Cup Championship Series, 44th annual one. And we will have a new champion this year. Brandon's team last year, St. Petersburg, won it all. And he's kind of shipped players out of town to make up for salary long-term planning. And they didn't make the playoffs. They're only the 11th team in the history of the league to not make the playoffs following their championship. I was one of them. It's not too fun feeling, but the financial engine of this game, in this league, the way it's set up, you really have to be on top of things, short and long term, to have consistency as a winner. And it's very hard to repeat in this league and to have a dynasty. We've had 5 new playoff teams from last year of the 8, and we had 5 the season before that. So 10 out of 16 playoff positions the last 2 seasons have been new teams. It's a pretty competitive league. It says it all right there. I believe in the last 5 or 6 seasons, 22 or 23 out of the 24 teams have made the playoffs. 22, I believe it is. Cleveland streak was broke last year, or this season. And Pittsburgh, formerly Dallas, Roberts, back in. That's another thing I have to tell you guys. I've been putting it off. I've been trying to get a little time to write something. We got 3 new GMs that are vital to this league, that are returning. One, we have a new GM in Westbury, the Westbury Cannons. It's David Burgess, and Dave was with us at the beginning of this league in 2006. September 2006 we started this all. And he was with the league for about 20 seasons, and he has stepped down to time restraints. He's back, I believe, after 8 real life years. or yeah, 8 years. So it's quite a head scratcher. A guy goes on hiatus and then comes back 8 real life years later, gets the itch. Pretty cool. So welcome back to Dave. There's a fucking cop stopping traffic. Why do cops stop people in the middle of the road? Why can't they pull over? Why can't they pull over on the side street or in a business or something so traffic doesn't have to stand still? Is it an ego trip? What the hell's wrong with these idiots? Love the blue, but I think their ego gets a little bit in the way of their brain sometimes. Anyways, just got around that. Alright, where was I? Oh yeah, welcome back, Dave. New GM in Westbury. We have a new GM, returning GM again, Robert Don, longtime Dallas Texans, formerly Dallas Texans, now Pittsburgh Aviators, is back after another short hiatus. Robert gets a little burned out because he goes 125 miles an hour into the league, and then he gets burned out. Gee, I wonder why, Roberto. And then he's back. He's taken over his former Dallas team, which he had for years. And he takes little breaks, couple months at a time, and is back with us. He's another good asset like Dave is. Welcome back, Roberto. And he's taken over his former team, Dallas, which is now Pittsburgh Aviators. And he's got a hell of a lot of talent on that team. Just needs a couple pitchers, and look out, they're loaded. So that team was built from the draft, and it looks like it's going to be a powerhouse for a long time if Robert doesn't screw it up. And Westbury's got some good talent. They got a couple of the league's best hitters, and like so many, he needs some pitching. Drafted pitching last year in the top 10. Looks like he'll be doing that again this year with a top 5 pick. And got a round of pieces out there for Westbury. Looks like they're in a little rebuild after winning the championship a couple seasons ago. And welcome back, Robert, and welcome back our third GM. Welcome aboard to Bob Fayette. He has taken over the Texas Roadrunners, and he's done a hell of a job with that team. Robert helped a little bit of the season. He had Texas for a couple sims, or 3 or 4 sims, and he took over Pittsburgh. And Bob scooped Texas up, and they're 2 wins away from advancing to the Cup. So we'll see what happens tonight with the sim. He's done a great job with that team, and he's set up. They got a lot of good pitching talent. They led the league in pitching. Got to get a couple hitters, fill some holes, but they're in the playoffs. They made the Final Four, and they're leading their series 2-1 against Cleveland. So welcome aboard, Bob. Bob's a good asset. He's very active, very analytical, very involved. All 3 of these guys are. And they push the buttons and get their exports in, and on top of their team and on top of the league. And all we ask is for you to, anybody. We got 24 great guys. It looks like nobody's going anywhere anytime soon. And where am I here? Okay. And anyways, we got 24 good guys. Looks like everybody's locked up for a long time. Openings are rare, and they're filled up immediately. We got a good waiting list with some really good GMs in waiting. And former Symbiote GMs always get preference if they're in good standing. They get first dibs at any availabilities, which are rare. So we got a good group of guys we've always had, and here we are. So we're in the playoffs. Cleveland had a record-setting season offensively. If you look at their lineup, all built through the draft, all lined up for seasons to come. The only thing with Cleveland, though, is they have a superstar pitcher, an ace, in Ricky Stanley, and fictionally, and nothing else. So it's going to be interesting what that team does when they get a couple good pitchers. And I believe they set the second most or third most runs scored in the season this year. They set an OPS team record and a top 5 home runs and runs. So a very powerful record-setting offense, one of the best in the league's history. So look out for Cleveland over there. And We got a 29 game improvement this season from, who was it? A 29 game improvement from Sacramento GM Jason Gregory's been with us for years, and Jason pulls off his third worst to first seasonal turnaround, which is a record for a GM in this league. And his 29 game improvements, I believe, is the second biggest improvement in our history of our league here. A lot of things went on this season, a couple no-hitters. Hickaroo, we got a new all-time hits king of the league, all-time great. Had a couple other monumental feats, and it looks like we're gonna have a good Hall of Fame ballot the next year or two with some deserving players that should get in, no-brainers. And Carl Kalk, we got the old Carl Kalkster sitting on the sidelines of that debate, which will go on seemingly forever. I don't know, the guy's on the top 5 list of every major offensive category, did his job, produced, and some people want to leave the guy out of the Hall of Fame. I'm not one for these new age, new generation, analytical, advanced stats. It's very simple to me. Home runs, runs batted in, hits, OPS, on base percentage, runs scored, guy gets on base, somebody pops him in, he does his job, or he drives somebody else in. Bottom line. Production, top 5, it's a no-brainer. I believe Kalk is on a very narrow list of 3 players that have his power stats and production stats. What is so hard to figure that out? The guy's a Hall of Fame quality, deserving player, career. Another thing is we have a handful, or whatever you want to call it, several top-notch, uber, game-changing relievers that are retired that were the best in the history of the league if you look statistic-wise, not even getting looked at for Hall of Fame consideration. One example is former longtime Cleveland closer Santiago Rivera. The guy's got the second lowest ERA in league history per the amount of games he pitched. 1,000 games or whatever. He's a 4-time Fireman of the Year. Was a complete dominating stud. Shut down, dominant at his position. Best of the best. I believe he had a 14-year career, and it ended early with injuries. But nobody was better. And there's a couple other relievers. I'll have to get the old man Lance a shout out and have him do a little comprehensive write-up about it to give some information to the voters. Nothing better than good-fashioned old information and facts and numbers. We are at the playoffs ending this season, and now we got to address the main thing I wanted to talk about in this podcast. If I haven't put you guys to sleep yet, we have the conversion coming up from out of the park 18 to out of the park 20, which is inevitable. I know it's a pain in the ass or a little inconvenient, but we hold out as long as we can, and we have to do it, guys. Now, we don't want to give OOTP another $40. OOTP 20 is on sale for $20 right now. I mean, it's time to strike now, and we will be converting right after the playoffs. Preferably, we'll run the off season a little bit and then get to the new year, the January 1st date, and convert to OOTP officially after that. I believe that's what's recommended by OOTP. And so that's coming up. So everybody's got to get that going. We wait until we convert usually every other version, and we wait as long as we can to convert. We wait till